everybody, it's Carol Marak here with carolmarak.com. Welcome to Solo and Smart, my YouTube channel, where I offer achievable tips for individuals living solo and even living duo. And as promised, I have a patient advocate here to speak to us today and to answer a few questions. I know that some of us are a little confused about patient advocates and care managers. So I wanted to, I invited Nancy Ruffner. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you.
And Nancy is a board certified patient advocate, and she is the owner of Navigate NC. And Nancy has earned her bachelor's degree in social work from the Western Carolina University and a graduate certificate in counselor education from North Carolina State University, and which is the emerging field of professional patient advocacy. And of course, you may not be aware of, but patient advocacy is rising in popularity in terms of helping individuals and seniors who are trying to navigate healthcare or even the health, say hospitals, for example. And Nancy was among the first in her industry to earn her board certification. And she helps individuals with medical, legal, insurance, and housing challenges. So since 2013, the company has emerged as the fastest growing agency with a goal of becoming a market leader for patient advocacy services in the Southeast. So welcome and kudos to you.
Well, thanks. I appreciate the introduction. That was quite comprehensive. And you did talk a little bit about how the field got started. And I thank you for that, because that was one of the first things that we agreed to talk about.
Yeah, it's really a huge issue because boomers are getting older, as we all know. And care is kind of scarce for us, especially those of us who don't have children, who aren't married, who don't have a partner, who don't have very many friends. When you become 65, 70, 75, your friends either move away to live nearby their kids, or they can't really pitch in to help us, right? They can't
That's
help
exactly right.
So we have to have people like Nancy to count on, patient advocates who look out for us, because it's very important, especially if we're confused about healthcare, our own chronic illnesses, and maybe even just to have someone to discuss medical decisions. There's so many solos who have no one to talk about financial decisions and medical decisions. So anyway, I'm excited to have you. Thank you for joining me, Nancy. So kind of to delve into it, what types of patients do you serve?
Well, we're an industry of largely comprised of nurses and social workers. That's how we started, and we remain largely so. But we do have some other professions that have joined us. Many of us have a personal story of helping our own parents or another family member. And so we've got experience, we got heart, and that's our impetus. We grew on to have professional organizations, the certification that you mentioned, but there are many kinds of us. My agency, like many patient advocates, will serve elder and chronic clientele. A lot of solos get real excited about this. I'm excited about this. I am one. I found Carol's Facebook group and have been a faithful member since she started it. I think that people here are starting to recognize not only the rise in the regular group of seniors that the numbers that are affecting us, but I think they're starting to see those of us who don't have built-in family members. My own agency will deal with elder care and chronic care. However, there are patient advocates who just do cancer navigation. There are some who only do insurance billing and disputes, medical billing. There are some who do medical tourism when you want to go and have your care and treatment in another country. There are some who have emerged with legislative strengths to bang the drum for our population in respective legislatures. There are some who have aligned with a particular disease organization, became the face or the spokesperson of. And so there are a lot of us working in a lot of different initiatives, some in pediatrics, some in, just like there are birth doulas, we have end of life doulas. There are a number of ways to serve, and we're doing that now.
So can you tell me one of your favorite stories of, say, helping a solo individual, maybe navigating some sort of health issue or even a hospital stay? Do you have?
Oh, plenty, hospitals. I like to say we go wherever our clients' pillows are. There are patient advocates in the hospital system, and they can get things done, but they are an employee of the hospital system. So when it's time for discharge, that's one of the very reasons that our industry came about. We go with our clients where they are: home, hospital, rehab, home, can't go back home, need a new home. We're moving with you, moving through with you. One of the stories that comes to mind was actually about two solos who became friends. And I overheard them talking in the hallway one day, and they said, Marge, which one of us do you think is going to keep our marbles the longest? Which was, it was a funny question, but it was a poignant question, because those two in their 70s, starting to look ahead, starting to see what's what, asking that of their contemporary, someone their own age. Now, if they revisited that question in their late 70s and early 80s, that answer might be different. And you go another 5-10 years and the answer will be very different, because they are not going to age at the same rate. Husbands and wives don't age at the same rate. And so I worked with one lady, one of those two, and the first thing we did was get her legal ducks in a row. We revisited her documents, not only the will, the estate planning part. And by the way, you don't have to have an estate to estate plan. It's planning, pure and simple. But mostly her advanced directives of what we worked on. Her living will, her selecting power of attorney designated agent, and got that all squared away. Made sure that those documents could do for her in our state where she was living what she needed them to do. Then we worked on the the financial part of it. We re-upped with her financial advisor, and she looked at it in her 70s, the purchasing of a long-term care insurance product. By that time, it was kind of cost prohibitive, and she decided against that. But they did have the conversation on how could she, doesn't self-insure sound good? How could she self-insure? How could she earmark some monies for care, keep stuff liquid if she needed it? And so she re-upped with both lawyer and financial planner. We got her into the geriatric clinic of a nearby teaching hospital. I'm lucky where I live. We've got Duke and UNC are both teaching hospitals with geriatric clinics, great care, all-encompassing care. And it took a while, but we got her in there, great resources and wonderful providers. So we maneuvered our way into there, and we're hanging on. Let's see. And I would say, if you don't have a great general practitioner right now, if you don't have a good go-to doctor, start looking now. Find one with some geriatric experience, because we're a little different when we age. Our bodies do things differently. We ensured that she was safe in her home. We did some minor adjustments in the home, had a contractor in. At one point, she had an OT, occupational therapist, walk through and say, you might want to look at changing that. But she was so proud when we walked into her kitchen, because I was going to say, now, have you got all of the dishes and things that you need most often right here at this level, so that you're not, or so that you won't go up on a ladder? She was so proud. She said, look at that shelf. I've got all my everyday stuff right here where I need it. No ladders for me. She was savvy. She was smart. We also planned about an introduction of home care when the time came, that she thought, I'm going to need a caregiver. Start small, start slow. But we talked about what was all that like. How do you choose one? What are the questions you ask? How do you make those decisions? And so we had all these conversations. What could they do for her? Well, things like helping with laundry, because all her washer and dryer was down a steep basement steps, which was not real safe. And there was nowhere else in the house to locate a stackable washer and dryer. That's one of the things we talked to the contractor about. But the caregiver could come in and we'd know exactly what her services would be. And one of them was driving. So when it came time to drive, she would have an alternate form of transportation when she needed it. COVID came around and we helped her with navigating telehealth appointment. I did an online webinar and she was in that webinar, and then we snapped her in on how to do it and how to get her phone ready. And when it came time for her to go on with the doctor at that appointment, she was ready and she was able to navigate it. We were on standby at first, and then she flew solo shortly after that. And then she was ready to go. She's doing okay. She has plans for the future. She has thought about when it's time to engage or access this or that, or bring this on board. So we're in constant conversation now, and we're ready.
Well, yeah, that's great. These are some of the things that I rarely hear people talk about, even with their friends. Even I don't talk about these things with my friends. And we have got to start discussing, even before we go to the hospital, before there is an emergency, before we have some sort of event that throws us into, what am I going to do? I'm a big proponent. I keep driving it over and over again in my videos. Let's start planning now. So I just love what patient advocates do. I am such a big supporter of you folks and care managers.
Yes.
Because when I was a caregiver for my parents, that's a care manager really helped us out. At that time, this was like almost 20 years ago, and we didn't have patient advocates.
Right.
But
right.
We had care managers, and I am such a big proponent of both of you, because healthcare is a huge issue.
It is, and it's confusing, and it's in the United States, our healthcare system is not showing any signs of getting any easier.
Right. Yeah, that's true. So is there one or two tips that you would like to leave with, especially for those of us who don't have nearby family? How can we start thinking about, our health care, how we can navigate or easily navigate some of the issues that we might face if we have a chronic illness, or if we end up in the hospital? What are some of the things that we need to start thinking about right now while we're still healthy?
Well, you bring up a good point, and I want to applaud anybody that views this video or maybe sends it on to other people. You guys you're starting to think, this is great. This is just tremendous. And I respect you greatly for that. What we can do, as Carol has been saying, is begin to build. Uh, some people call it circle of care. Here lately, I've been calling it a micro board. And we can be chairperson of the board. We're going to select our doctors. We're going to select our attorney. We're going to select our financial professional. We're going to have an insurance go-to person, and we're selecting our plans. We're going to select a patient advocate or a care manager, and we're going to familiarize ourselves with support. What are government things we can tap into? How does this work? What is a local regional? A lot of times you don't have to know the answers. I don't know all the answers, but I know where to carry the questions. You know, we have that healthcare lay of the land. We have pretty good legal lay of the land. I often tell my families, you know, you have the benefit of the 500 families that came before you, because we've seen a lot, and that helps us to anticipate a lot. And so I think just beginning to think about what you'll need. And real quickly, one of the best ways that I have encouraged folks to do this is to sit in your chair right now and think about, you know, all right, how am I doing physically? And how am I doing cognitively? And how am I doing financially? And now move yourself 5 years down the road. How might I be doing physically? Would there be any cognitive changes likely? Would there be any financial changes likely? And then move it another 5. You know, 10 years out, we're probably going to have some cognitive changes. You're probably going to have some medical changes. And just start thinking like that. What will you need? What will you need? And you know, build your circle of care, appoint your micro board. And the best thing that I can say is a quote by an attorney friend of mine, and I say it in every presentation. We can all have a say about how things will go and where we'll end up.
Amen.
Yep.
Amen. You know, I did a video on a study by AARP that especially solos who have no one to rely on are especially worried about end of life concerns. You know, like, will my wishes be carried out? Yes. Will a stranger be assigned to take care of me? What will happen to me? Will I have any voice in the matter? And that just is so scary. So thank you, Nancy, for giving us some really great advice to follow and to start thinking about right now. And I know that Nancy has given me, and I will list it in the description below, but quite a few resources on where to find a patient advocate. And also, I will put Nancy's contact information, if that's okay with you, Nancy. And anything else, I think that's about covers it, right?
We've covered a lot. I think the biggest impression I'd want to leave with you and with anybody that's looking is that, you know, you really can have a say. To plan ahead is how you keep your independence. It is how we keep our power, is to do some thinking, make some decisions, and document it. Tell somebody.
Love it. I love that. Yeah, she's my my sounding board here. I mean, Nancy, you are my echo chamber.
I'm echoing a good person.
Thank you, Nancy, for joining me today. And thank you, audience. And check out below in the description for some of the resources that Nancy wants you to have. And be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Share this video with a friend, especially a friend that may be wanting to look ahead and start planning ahead and think about their healthcare down the road. And circle back for more tips in the next day or two. Thanks again, Nancy.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks, everybody.